Every done. I am Ray, and God wanted you to hear this message today. And that is, it doesn't matter if you think you're behind in life, it doesn't matter what you have done, God will always make up for lost time. So all of these detours that you've been going through, none of it matters, because you can never be behind. You're always exactly where you need to be. It's just, well, how much of that do you realize? Do you realize you're always where you're supposed to be? I don't know. And this is one of those reasons why people say God works in mysterious ways, because on our journey to wherever it is that we're going, there's usually a lot of detours. And sometimes those detours, they look like we're going in the opposite direction. What is going on? This is not what I planned. God has read your plans and has made some revisions. You see, if we want life to go smoothly, if we don't want life to drag us along kicking and screaming, there's a few things we want to get right. First of all, the process seems to go something like this, where you're going in one direction, and then there's confusion. What is going on? And there's confusion for a long time until one day everything is made clear all at once. And now it makes kind of sense. But when we're in the thick of it, it don't make no sense. And that's a great thing, because we don't want the burden of knowledge. Because once you have the burden of knowledge, you got to do something with it. It's up to you to make the right decision. During this time of confusion, where we don't understand why we are being delayed. Am I standing too tall? Sorry, there's some towels underneath me. In fact, the great news is that our job is very easy. We have the easiest job in the whole universe. And that is, we just gotta walk the path and have faith. I'm going to my 3-step blueprint, dream life blueprint. But for now, we need that reminder that there's nothing wrong, that it's all good, that this is how it's supposed to be happening. Because all of life includes all of life. And that includes the rainy days and the days where you don't feel like, you're the best. In fact, even the days where you feel like not the best. The orb must be pondered. Yes, I have received the downloads. Am I making fun of other spiritual teachers who channel deities? Yes, now every video I'm going to be pondering my orb. Wisdom from the gods. Yes. I always thought that was funny. It's like, God needed you to hear this message today. Oh, yeah. I didn't realize you were the prophet of the new age. And there's a lot of them, it seems. But I digress. All the time it takes to go through those detours, to go down those paths where you're thinking, I shouldn't be going down this one. At the end of it all, it will all make sense. And there will be no lost time. Because God, is infinite power. Time has no power over God, so, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Our job is to prevent our energy from getting all messed up, from allowing the fear in, from allowing the confusion to lead us astray. Because think about it, when life isn't going the way you want it to, it's frustrating, is it not? So you naturally feel this, suffering of not getting what you want, and thinking that things are wrong. But the problem is, the only reason we feel this way is because we're reacting negatively to our circumstances. What we are experiencing is not in alignment with what we think should be experiencing, and therefore there is resistance to life, and resistance to life is suffering. Well, the orb has been pondered. Keep this safe. Because what people don't realize is that this game of life, the game of God, God's game, it's a game of energy. That's all it is. And there's different ways you can play this game. You see, there's an element to life that is neutral. People ask, why does God allow bad things to happen? It's because God is made up of 3 parts. Haven't you heard of the Trinity? Somebody mentioned it. There's a positive aspect, there's a neutral aspect, and there's a negative aspect. The creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer. Now you understand all of religion. And now you understand the secrets of the universe. Congratulations. You have earned your own orb. I'll have to get more. Maybe I should draw a happy face on it. So that is how the universe is set up. The divine intelligence of the universe, the information is the positive force, the destructive force, the black holes and all that jazz. It's the negative side. And then the neutral is space. Space is just space. It's the vessel for everything, the container. Am I standing too tall? Sorry, I got some towels under my feet. And this neutral aspect is what people call the law. The law, because the law is what it is, regardless of who you are. For example, if you're an evil person, or if you're a good person, the law is the same. If you break that, you're going to get a spanking from God. The point I'm trying to make is that if you align your energy with relaxation and being relieved and not worrying and not having fear, that's going to save your life. And even if you're a good person who loves God, if you allow the fear in and the worry and the frustration because life isn't going the way you want it to, you are engaging in breaking the law. And now I got to get my handcuffs because, well, this is the last straw for you. Unfortunately, your fate has been decided. If you can keep this attitude of remembering that everything is okay, you will not allow that fear to mess you up and attract more problems and bad things. Because that's the only reason it happens. We attract problems and struggles and suffering because of our mind's resistance to life. And we sabotage our blessings because life is a game of energy. You want God's infinite love, you got to be in alignment with that. Or God's infinite abundance, you got to be in alignment. You can't be worrying all the time and also suspect things to go well. But the amazing thing is that if we literally just get out of the way, God can effortlessly work anything through us. And we don't have to worry about things. But because we get in the way, we almost drag ourselves along kicking and screaming. But it's all because of our own little minds, monkey minds, that cause us to break the law and suffer. For example, it doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person. If you allow the fear and worry in, it's going to mess with you and create problems in your life. Maybe the law is over here. I don't know. You get the idea, though. Somewhere along this plane of events, there is the law, which is like a set of principles or boundaries or ways that the universe is, that if we go against it, we will be in resistance to life. That will create problems. For example, if you're someone who struggles with money, and you're praying to God, please God, I need abundance. And instead of abundance, He gives you some hot dog buns. This is not what I asked for. I don't even have hot dogs. I ran out yesterday. These jokes are leading me astray. Keep forgetting my train of thought. If we were to just relax and feel safe now that everything is taken care of, our pathway to whatever it is that we want in this life, our best life, would be so much smoother and so much easier. And how difficult your life is really about how much you're in the way. How much is your mind resisting life as you are experiencing it? That's the key. Because if you're swimming up a river all day, every day, you're going to get exhausted. But if you just start relaxing and float down the river, you trust that God is taking to you where you need to go. Literally, our job is to do nothing but get out of the way. And what you will find is that abundance is the default state. And love is the default state, or peace, or joy. And it's only because our own mind that's judging everything all the time that we're separated from these inner riches, that of which God wants to give you. But God cannot give you it so long as your mind is being polluted with garbage. How much garbage is in there, huh? Well, you gotta make space for the things you want by removing the things you don't. You have to remember that in an instant, God can solve all your problems, and there's a reason that God is not. Because if God just solved all your problems, life would be miserable. You have to struggle through them, because that's the whole game. Now, to us in this little human form, we're like, hey God, I don't think this is what I signed up for. But we did. And the reason it's so fun, this game of life, is because we forget. We forget what's going on and we actually believe what's going on is actually what's going on. Meaning, we believe ourselves to be living in poverty, but in reality, God has already given us the kingdom of abundance by default. Case closed. So here we are, struggling, thinking we're struggling, but it's just pretend. Even though it's the most real thing to us. We really believe it. It's like, yes, I'm struggling. But God's like, yeah, you're struggling because you're trying to figure it all out. When if you just place the burdens upon God, there is no struggle. What are you going to struggle with? What is there? I don't get it. I don't understand. What is there to struggle with if you have given your burdens away? There is nothing. That is why God is the cheat code to life. Now, it's not that God is some tool to get what you want. It's that God allows you to be free. Allows you to be free from your own mind's nonsense. That same nonsense which is killing millions of people all the time. Through things like, poverty, addictions, self-destructive behavior, not being able to handle our emotions and our instincts. It's all us. Like literally we are the only thing getting in the way. The only problem. You will always be the bottleneck to your experience because as the ego, as the mind, we allow the fear in, messes up our energy, keeps us stuck in low states of consciousness, negative states of being. The exact places where we're trying to escape. And yet, if we could just relax and go with that flow, you would see that no matter what happens to you, God is always right here, guiding you along. Like you're a little baby trying to walk, and you keep falling on your face over and over again. And God's just like, oh, try again, try again. Watch out for that hole. Nope, you fell again. But the only way we can feel safe falling on our faces is if we know that God is right there guiding us. And if we don't know that, well, we're going to be afraid to take risks. We're going to be afraid to take that step that we need to take. We're going to sabotage our blessings. Our dreams. Where are my dreams? Don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do it. But the good news is that flow will take you right to your dreams. That's why they say, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream, or a nightmare for many. But it's only a nightmare because we perceive it to be. It's only a nightmare because we're resisting life and life isn't going the way we want it to. And when we're really struggling and when we're really suffering, those emotions that we feel, like fear or worry or anger or resentment, they're so powerful that it brings us in and entangles us with the situation. Like, I know I'm frustrated. If there's anything I know, it's that I'm frustrated. But our mission is to learn how to deal with those difficult emotions so that we can more gracefully go through life. Because you can. You can dance through life. Dance through the most difficult problems you'll ever face with ease and grace. Not a big deal. A big deal for everyone else, not for you. And you can go through the smallest little inconvenience and get absolutely hammered. And get upset and get dragged along kicking and screaming. The choice is yours. Time to ponder. No? I should have checkpoints in these videos. Let's take a moment to ponder. We want to get out of our own selves, our own little psychological storm that we got going on, and we want to take a step back and begin looking at our life from like 30,000 feet. Now, I'm not saying get in a plane. I'm saying create a little bit of detachment from your personal situation and start pondering a new story like, I wonder how this could be serving me. This apparent detour, on the surface seems like a bad thing. But if I stopped reacting bad, perhaps there is wisdom here. Perhaps there's some lesson to be learned. And that's what you'll find. But you cannot find that lesson if you're struggling miserably. If you're just wallowing in your own suffering. Because you can only focus on one thing at a time. So you're either focusing on all the suffering you're going through, or you're focusing on, good stuff. Like, let's assume that God knows what God is doing. Let's just assume that. And let's assume also that maybe we do not know what we are doing as the separate little ego. And after a while on this journey, you see that the only logical thing to do is just give it up to God. Because why would you, as the little ego, want to carry the burdens of the world? Maybe if you're just a hyper-masculine person who's already conquering problem after problem after problem, and that's just what you like to do. But for a lot of people, it's a lot easier to surrender. Life becomes a lot smoother when you stop creating that psychological resistance to it. It is the psychological resistance that creates suffering, and that psychological resistance comes from the stories we tell ourselves, our identity, our beliefs, our little stories. I think I said that twice. The orb must be pondered once again. If we can just get out of our own nonsense for a moment and just relax, everything's gonna... Stupid camera. Everything's gonna be okay. And that will help you greatly get through these detours of life, because you'll create detachment from being so entangled and personal in your experiences. And that detachment will give you some clarity about the truth. The truth. Because so long as you're suffering emotionally and psychologically, there is no freed up attention for higher things like learning a lesson or discovering the purpose of why I'm still in this situation. I thought I was finished with this. Why is this happening? We have to understand that every problem, every struggle, every so-called detour that arises in our life is not to destroy us, but the dogs. It's meant to help us grow. It's all about spiritual growth. Your soul doesn't care so much about your temporary feelings on this earth. Your soul cares about who do you become on this journey. Because you can live the best life ever and become a horrible, horrible person. And you can live the worst life ever and become the greatest person who ever lived. So we as little human monkeys, we think the purpose of life is to feel good and run away from things that don't feel good. But in truth, whether we feel good, whether we suffer, whether we do whatever, it doesn't matter to the soul. The soul's only mission is becoming unentangled with our karmic predicaments, the karmic knots that keep us attached to certain ways of being. And that is why we're here. We're here to work through these karmic attachments so that we can become more and more free and enter the kingdom of heaven. Knock, knock. Let me in. Let me in. Because the fact is, the more karmic attachments you have, the heavier you are. I don't mean fat. I mean, it's like, imagine if outer space was heaven and right now you're on Earth. So how are you going to get to outer space from where you are right now? Well, you can't do it in this form because your weight is keeping you attached to the Earth. In other words, your karmic attachments are keeping you stuck in negative, low states of consciousness, or at the very least just earthly consciousness, because being an animal, there's good and bad, pleasure and pain. But if you want to get to outer space, what needs to happen? You need to become light. So light that you just start floating up. Which means you become free from these gross attachments. These attachments that are keeping us stuck, tethered to the earthly plane. The orb has been pondered once again. Every time we become free from these karmic attachments, we start floating on up. Like, imagine if you were a balloon. Do you like balloons? We all float down here. The balloon is already naturally rising up. But because we have all of this earthly conditioning, it's like mud caked onto the balloon, so it weighs it down. So instead of going up naturally, we go down naturally. But once you start removing the dirt, it starts floating up to heaven. It's like if the gates of heaven had an identification code, and you gotta walk through, and it either bings red or it bings green. And if it bings red, a trapdoor opens all the way down to hell for you. Sorry, try better next time. And what determines whether or not it pings red or pings green? I don't know if it's bing or ping. Either way, it measures the density of your very being. The heavier you are, the harder it is to go up, because you're naturally having this weight pulling you down. That is why Jesus said, "Come to me as little children, and you will freely enter the kingdom." Because children are unconditioned, pure in mind, pure in heart. And all that is keeping us from our natural state are these conditioned fears, these conditioned beliefs, these conditioned desires. Because you may be hell-bent on some kind of mission, but maybe the mission was formed from a state of lack and scarcity. So you're really trying to do this thing or do that. But since it's, rooted in lack and scarcity, maybe it was never supposed to work out. But it is our expectations that cause us to resist life when it doesn't go the way we want. But what do we know? That's the whole thing. We are like little babies thinking we know it all, when God is the all-knowing parent trying to guide us and trying to help us. You can either be a spoiled teenager who runs out of the house and goes out into the world to do their own thing, or you can save yourself all that trouble and just allow God to do its thing, to take over, to guide you. Because life gets a lot easier when that happens. And life is really hard when you're out there all alone, trying to figure it out all by yourself. So just relax. Everything's good. This is just your daily reminder that everything's good. And the more you can free yourself from worry and fear and these negative states of consciousness, the more you will naturally rise up. You will become more and more light, more and more free, and the natural joy, peace, and love within you will emerge and bubble up. Because the things that are keeping that suppressed, keeping you stuck in misery, now these things are being removed one by one. When the fear comes up and the worry comes up, you remember God. You spiritualize your life. You see God in all things. Because it's happening, regardless if you're aware of it. It's just, we're not aware of it. Like, oh my God, I engaged in this addiction again. I thought I was done with this. I hate this. I hate my life. Not realizing that God is putting the addiction in your life to guide you towards something, to teach you something, to help you grow. And what happens when you reframe the addiction or the self-destructive behavior or whatever it is that you stop reacting negatively to it. So you stop allowing the fear and the worry and the frustration and the annoyance. And you learn how to relax even in the face of great difficulty, even in the face of what you don't want, because you understand clearly that it's all part of it and that there is no part of it that is not part of it. So the evil is part of it. The darkness is part of it. You cannot get rid of the evil or the darkness without getting rid of everything. It is only our animal body that really wants to run away from pain and pursue pleasure. But in truth, both the darkness and the light are equally important to the whole thing. In the movie, the actor who plays the villain and the actor who plays the hero are both contributing to the whole movie. On the surface, are they enemies? Yeah. If you didn't realize it was a movie, you'd be like, oh, wow, those guys are really, going at it. In the movie, on the surface, they're enemies. But behind the scenes, they're friends. Because both actors are contributing to the movie, which was made for you. And because our emotions grip us so heavily, we forget that. We forget that the evil powers of this world are also contributing to the goodness of everything. Because it doesn't make sense to our animal body. No, they're creating suffering. Look at all these people they're killing. Look at all this suffering. How is this good? How is God allowing this to happen? Another detour. Another God works in mysterious ways. But why is it mysterious? Because we don't realize that the demons are just as in service to God as the angels. We split. Oh no, the demons are everywhere trying to get us, trying to pinch our butts. Not realizing that it's all part of it. But that if you allow the forces of darkness to mess with your energy, to get you trapped in their illusion. There is no rules that say that you will not be absolutely annihilated by the forces of darkness. But you fundamentally allow them in. Through the fear, through the worry, through believing that they have power that they don't. Because if you believe in the demons, and the demons are attacking you, well, that's going to stress you out, is it not? But if you realize that there are no such things as demons, there are only angels in disguise because they're all in service of God, well, then every negative thing in your life instantly becomes positive. And not positive like you're pretending something is good when it's not. Positive as you realize, without question, that everything is serving you. Even the bad stuff. Even the hard times, the difficulties, the struggles, the detours, the roadblocks. It's all for you. All of life is for you. It's made for you, so enjoy it. Don't try so hard to escape it. Don't try so hard to, struggle with it. Enjoy the process of living your life. And now you start to understand the highest teachings. A lot of people are looking for all of the secret knowledge and the secret teachings and the secret everything. But at the end of the day, it's simple. You return back to where you started from. In the beginning, we struggle, we're living in darkness, and then we enter into the light. But it's not like we're living on another planet. We're living in the same life, in the same place, except for we're coming from a different perspective. We're coming from a higher perspective that sees the underlying unity behind it all and not the separation. We get out of this storm of, well, the demons are trying to get me, so the angels, protect me, angels, save me. We get out of that war and we transcend to a higher place that sees how all the negativity in your life is serving you. And when you do that, you free your energy from the influence of the forces of darkness. You free yourself from being possessed and destroyed by chaos and darkness and evil. Because once you learn how to transmute that darkness into light, well, darkness is the force of destruction. So how are you going to be destroyed? You cannot be destroyed. Therefore, you save yourself from ever being, accidentally destroyed, like many people, from their addictions, from their negative thoughts, whatever it is. You will no longer struggle with that problem anymore. So there's great relief experienced knowing that God is working through the darkness and the demons, and God is working through the angels and the light. And both are here for you, the watcher of this movie, the character, the main character, and also the director. And whether or not you claim your own God power or just rely on God's power, doesn't matter. There's a neutral element to this game. And if you do the right things, you'll get the right results. And if you do the wrong things, you get the wrong results. And the right things are keeping your energy congruent with the divine, with the nature of peace, love, joy, and abundance. You cannot be in fear and also in abundance, and also in love and also in joy. It cannot be done. Every day, simple choice, love over fear, remembering, not forgetting, and continuously immersing yourself in that relief of the knowing that you are being taken care of and that everything is working out perfectly for you. So that when you find yourself in the middle of the struggles and the detours, you're not led so far astray, but you can dance through those situations with grace. And at the end of it all, you will realize that there was nothing wrong, and that there are no burdens given by God that are meant to destroy you, but they're all meant to build you up. But God does not promise that you will not be destroyed if you place extra burdens upon yourself. So don't do it. That is what this is about. Give your burdens to God. Give it all up. Because life is so much easier and so much better. And yes, it takes some time to build your faith and trust muscles, but it's a much more fun way to live life. Simply because you're no longer being burdened by suffering and resistance and all of this psychological misery that we place upon ourselves for no other reason than we are just ignorant of what we are doing. Protect your energy from your own self, your own mind, and watch the magic happen. Build that feeling of certainty and safety, knowing that it's all taken care of, and everything else will unfold naturally, better than you could have ever imagined. So give it a shot. I challenge you. And if you don't accept my challenge, well, I will find you. And the bee will also find you. Can you see? Oh, there it is. I will send bees to your home. Ponder that. I am Ray. Visit my cool store. Much peace and many blessings. And remember, just be